Hi everyone, welcome to the Sprouts podcast. Today we have with us here Deepta from Iris. She's the co-founder for Iris. We are at SaaSBoomi in Chennai, and thank you so much, Deepta, for taking out the time today and meeting with us and
Thank you for having me.
and talking about GTM. So we're going to talk about Iris's journey and Deepta's journey with Iris, of course, how they've scaled so far, how they've grown, and the challenges, the ups and downs, and everything. So before we start, we were just discussing that Iris is in the regulatory tech space, reg tech. That's what she told me. So tell us more about Iris and your journey so far.
Sure. So yeah, RegTech, it's a bit of a mouthful, but it stands for regulatory technology.
Yeah.
And the genesis or the origin of the space that we are in is, there's a convergence of three things. I don't know your name.
Swati.
So there's a convergence of three things happening, Swati. One is that globally there is more and more compliance being asked for.
Yes.
Right? There are more and more entities that need to comply with one regulator or another. Okay? And there is technology. So more and more things are going digital and online. Right? So if you look at the convergence of these three things, what is happening is, in order for regulators to regulate more effectively, and they're getting a plethora of information, you need standards. Because it gets very hard for them to, they need an army of analysts to start kind of reading through the kind of information that they read in order to do governance better. So there are global standards which have emerged, open data standards, which helps with business and financial reporting. And how Iris was formed is offering solutions based on global open data standards, both to regulators as well as to the regulated.
Right.
So the journey started small. And the journey started with one regulator at a time. We now have like a footprint in over 50 countries. Wow. We have over 30 regulatory customers. We have 6,000 enterprise clients. So there's two broad sides to Iris's business.
Yes.
One is to the regulators, which is what I call B2G, if I can call it that. And the other is to enterprises or companies, which is B2B.
B2B, right.
And broadly, the business is RegTech, which basically means compliance reporting. And now we are going beyond compliance reporting, deeper into enterprises and regulators in two areas. Analytics, using all this data, can we make smarter analysis, smarter decisions? And in creating the data, can we make things more efficient? Can we make the processes inside a company more efficient before they come to the actual compliance piece?
Oh, wow. This is very interesting. So essentially what I understand is that you have two sets of customers for which you kind of do GTM motion. One is the regulators and, like you said, the regulated. So B2G and B2B. So is the GTM motion, the process, different for these two segments?
Chalk and cheese, dramatically different.
Yeah. Can you walk us through both the segments?
Sure. So like a B2G, first of all, regulators are big daddies, right? It's like in India, we have Reserve Bank of India as our customer.
Yes.
In Singapore, we have ACRA. So these are big names.
Yes.
Slow sales cycle, large ticket sizes, RFP driven, multi-years, evangelizing about the benefits of digital reporting standards as opposed to some proprietary locked-in standards. Very, very different. Enterprise segment, shorter sales cycles, lower tick sizes, therefore the need to get a bigger funnel, more volumes. Of course, the number of entities is much, much more. So very, very different.
Okay. So regulators, one you said, are big daddies, like you mentioned, there's RBI and the big company, the big government makers. Also, from what I've heard, that there are individual standalone assigned regulators who kind of do this piece also, like in probably other compliances, like smaller people who are probably given the certification that they are the ones who will regulate. Is this outsourced in some way, or does it come with just the main RBI owned, or is it outsourced to small regulators who become then certified regulators, individuals who can do this process, like auditors of sort?
So, interesting question. So, typically, if you look at like any country, you'll have. Let's talk about business and financial regulators, right? Because you can have like health regulators and like stuff in the film areas, like movie regulators, those kinds of things. But our focus is in business and financial. If you take a look at financial regulators, you normally have like a central bank in any country. You'll have like a SEBI, like a stock market regulator in any country. Maybe an insurance regulator, a tax authority, a business registry. So you'll have 5-6 main regulators. Of course, when you go down to, like, let's say the state level, you can have individual state regulators as well, right?
Absolutely.
Like, asking municipalities, you can have that as well. Honestly, if you think of large corporates like conglomerates, kind of thing, the guys at the head office are almost like regulators, aren't they? Like, you know, so it is, what does a regulator do? They regulate by seeking information. A lot of people are supposed to give them information in a format or a manner that they want, which helps them just regulate or govern better. Because the regulator is not going to send somebody to every single office, company, plant location to see, right? They're seeking information, they use information. So information is the basis of regulation. And so the regulators are plenty, but the space that we operate in, Swati, there is an open data standard called XBRL. It's a machine readable global open data standard. Right? And the origin or the genesis was financial scandals. You know, so there was these Enrons, etc.
Right.
And the regulator gets a bad rap because it's like, what were you doing? Why could you not, you know, envisage? Regulators were looking for some technology-led solution. So the standard came up specifically for business and financial regulators. So adopters of this XBRL standard, there's about like 70 different countries that have adopted XBRL as a standard for business and financial reporting, one regulator or the other in those countries. And that's the space that we play in from the compliance regulators side.
Right. My next question is that how much of customizations you have to do on your SaaS platform to for the regulators, particularly like the compliance that they have, like the documentation that has to be submitted, like how much of customization has to be done for different regulations or anything?
So yeah, good question. So you know, like I said, we've got two sides to our business. One is the side where we sell solutions to regulators based on this XBRL standard.
Exactly.
The other is where we sell solutions to the regulated, let's call it the companies, right, to do two things. One is prepare their reports, forget about XBRL, and then also to XBRLize it. You know, so there is a collaborative document authoring piece. There is an XBRLization piece, let's call it like that. The solution that we sell to regulators, there is a decent amount of customization because each regulator has their own business rules.
Absolutely.
Each regulator has their own requirements. You go to a regulator in the Middle East, they need stuff to go right to left. You go to regulators in some other part. So there is a fair amount of customization. Having said that, on the regulator side, what we've done from a solutions point of view, because we work with like now about 27, 28 regulators, we've built components that are repurposable for each regulator. So, you know, you can plug and use those components and that journey is still on for us. And the rest of it is customized, right? That's the way that works. On the enterprise side, the B2B side of it, there our product, Iris Carbon, is a pure cloud product. One product, one source code used across multiple markets. It's architected just to be flexible and to kind of work with the requirements of US markets, European markets. But there it's a scalable.
It's a scalable single product. And also, if they are applying for one compliance with you, they can definitely apply for another compliance as well. So that's the facility that they get.
Absolutely. So one of the kind of beauties about Carbon, and actually, you know, compared with some of the, you know, we have a couple of international competitors. Some of our international competitors are very geography specific. Like one of our biggest is just in the US. We have like a few which are in Europe. Practically no competition from India. But what happens is those competitors which are in the US, their products are very targeted or built only for the US market. So when you try to kind of repurpose it for another opportunity or another geo, it's very difficult. Because we work with the regulators and enterprises, and because we've kind of seen the play across both sides, we've built this Iris Carbon Enterprise SaaS product as a very flexible product. So it's very easy for us to be able to repurpose it. So time and time again, we've done that.
Of course. So for the B2B side of the business that you mentioned, what is the ideal ticket size? How big the companies need to be? And how has the GTM motion worked for Iris so far with this segment?
So for the B2B side, the product's name is Iris Carbon, the cloud SaaS product with one single source code, right? So there, the kinds of companies that we reach out to, again, there are two categories, Swati. Like I said, one is that need to comply, right? That fall under some compliance mandate. So therefore, the market over there is any company that needs to comply with a particular XBRL mandate in a particular country.
Right.
So if it is the US, let's say the US SEC has mandated public companies, then our target is all public companies.
All public companies.
Right?
Yeah.
In Europe, if there is a mandate for all public companies, it is all public companies.
Absolutely.
In South Africa, the regulator mandates it for all companies, public and private. So it's the universe of companies over there. Right? So that is what has defined it on the XBRL side. There, kind of the GTM motion for us has been pretty straightforward and simple, because when there is a mandate, those for a company to report in XBRL, they need some solution. They don't have a choice. They have to report in XBRL to the regulator, right? It's a choice of solution at that point in time. We happen to be kind of number one in this XBRL space. So we go in there and basically show our credentials, how we are very strong in XBRL, and they have to pick some solution or the other. So that's the way we do it. And there, the sales cycle or the sales motion is hinged upon the mandate itself.
Right.
You have to comply. Here's the timeline. Pick a solution. That's the way it works. However, we have recently launched another module in Iris Carbon, which is what we call disclosure management. That's kind of like $1 billion TAM growing to $2 billion. That is not about the compliance. It is about the document authoring, the creation.
Okay.
Right? So whenever you have like business or financial reports, the authoring itself is a pain. The problem that we solve there is, or any disclosure management solution, authoring of a document requires multiple stakeholders, multiple iterations. There's a CFO, an auditor, the preparers. There are numbers flowing in from some ERP system. Everything is a pain. Some stuff is on your desktop, some stuff is on mine. Versions are flying all over the place. So a disclosure management solution keeps it in one centralized place, one common source of truth, easy to kind of manage. Right? That problem is about efficiency. So that is not linked to a mandate. It could be for any company, that is doing disclosures, whether internally, externally, whether for compliance or not. There, we are in the process of discovering the GTM motion, and that's part of the reason why we are working with.
Nice. So, how do partnerships work in this ecosystem? Helping each other out and sharing clients. Does that work? Not work?
So we're bootstrapped, right? So a lot of the growth that we have seen for Iris Carbon in the international markets in Europe and in North America have been through partnerships, so with partnerships. A lot of it has been on the back of XBRL mandates in those countries. And our partners have been logical fits. It's either been large accounting firms, consulting firms, software consolidation firms that see this as so we have leveraged partnerships and we think it's a smart way for us to grow when we can't put like a whole army, like feet on street kind of thing over there. Similarly, for the disclosure management, the part that comes before the XBRL, we have already signed up with partners in Canada, North America, etc. for the disclosure management. So we see our GTM being like a mix of partner led or alliance managed growth and also direct both.
Nice. Very, very interesting take. So for GTM particularly, any tools that you've been using so far, and how many years has Iris been running?
So Iris has been running since 2005. The first wave of growth was all around the regulators. So that was the first part of it. Interestingly, in 2009, the US SEC, which is like the Securities Commission, Exchange Commission, they mandated XBRL, which impacted 6,000 listed companies. Back then, we actually offered services. It was a KPO model that we stood up. As a backend. So we built our own XBRL tools. We had a whole army of accountants, and we were working with 600 of US largest companies, but as a backend service provider to a partner in the US. Around 2012-13, we figured that we wanted to move the product's way. So we started building Iris Carbon version 1.0 back then, and made the journey from services to products, basically. It's a tough journey because services is like quick cash. It's like chicka chinka, the money keeps rolling in. In products, you have to build your products out. They have to take off, and it has to succeed. So right now our products have seen kind of success. I would say I call it a good proof of concept. We've got a decent customer base for the XBRL mandate in Europe. There was an energy mandate in the US. We've got the second highest market share, completely kind of a homegrown sales motion driven out of here primarily.
Nice.
Teams sitting out of here making sorties, that kind of thing, participating in events, etc. Now with disclosure management, which is not mandate led, we are looking at streamlining and strengthening, building more muscle in our GTM motion.
Nice, very nice. So for the last question, I think I'll pick on something that you said earlier, that you transitioned from a service company to a product company. And I think there are a lot of our audience out there who would really love to know that if I'm a service company running a service company today, how do I build a product? Should I build a product because it's become the new in thing? What would you be your advice to such agencies or companies building products, and how should they go about it?
So when we decided to make the transition from services to product, it was for two reasons. One is that we saw XBRL and compliance reporting becoming a global phenomenon, because we could see, working with so many regulators in so many countries, that enterprises are going to need an easy way to manage XBRL, right? And we felt that a product would be a logical fit or an easy way for us to offer something to them in a manner that could scale quickly, because we didn't have the wherewithal to scale services so hugely. That was the rationale for products. It was we knew it would be easier to scale if it succeeded. When we started the transition from services to products, it was very difficult, because the mindset in services is you're always there to please the customer, kind of doing that extra thing, whatever the customer wants you to do. When you're trying to build a product, you're trying to look at what is the base offering that will cater to everybody's requirements, right? And so it was a difficult transition. I'd say that the toughest thing is a mindset shift. It's very difficult to keep a services first and a products first mindset at the same company. We therefore decided to burn our bridges on the services side. We said no more service contracts, because if we do that, we will always chase that. So it was a difficult decision. We took the surpluses that we had from the services and started investing in products. And there's an interesting side story that we actually ran out of cash before we finished the transition. So we had to do like an IPO as a very, very unorthodox move to infuse a little bit more cash into the company. So we went public, finished the product's journey. Ironically, when we IPO'd, we were at our lowest in terms of revenue. We had a lot of losses on the books. Luckily for us, bit by bit, the product started taking off. And, so we were able to kind of break even, wipe out the losses, start growing the book. The beauty about it, when it starts succeeding, is it becomes like a recurring business, right? Which is really fabulous. So I'd say the advice is, to see if there is a need, if there is a large enough need or an opportunity for that product. If there is, and you're making a transition from services to products, give up that services. You don't have to kill it altogether. We still offer services. We think it's a fabulous edge for us, but we don't make it the main trump card. We make it a fabulous supporting card, because we are very, very good at it, right? And that's what I would say. And I would wish everyone luck.
No, that was lovely advice. I think the key takeaway being that you cannot have the product and a service mindset at the same time, because you will just end up making too many customizations which are not possible when you have a product. Thank you so much, Deepta, for taking out the time. I really enjoyed and I learned so much from this session.
Thank you so
and I'm
much.
sure our audience enjoyed too.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.